Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Okay, we've got about a 15-second delay from when content is created in WebEx before it shows up on the stream on YouTube.
Okay, have I got any audio?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so is my microphone. I'm on, but I'm going to disconnect and go to hardwire and reconnect. Okay. I get it. Okay. If I shut off my video, that turns the audio back on. Apparently not.
The stream's having a hard time hearing you, Pat. You might need to speak a little louder or get a little closer to the mic.
It'll be?
Yes.
Okay. Is that any better? I take it that's no better.
Again, there's a 15-second delay, so if you don't mind being patient for just a second longer.
Oh, I see. You're talking about the streaming part.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you just came through and it does sound better.
Okay. I have to, kind of depends on where I am. Is it okay right there? I have to back off a little bit to get my video. Now, where were you going to put the agenda?
Sorry, the agenda right now I'm sharing the Mustang, and once the meeting gets started, I will switch that out with the agenda. I'll also be switching between the Mustang design and a flag. Agenda right now I'm sharing the Mustang.
I didn't hear you.
Once the meeting gets started, I will switch that out with
Mustang.
the agenda. So be switching between Mustang design and sorry about that. I've got two audio sources and I got a phone call at the same time. So I have I have the Mustang up now, but I will once we get into the meeting, I will stop sharing and then I will switch over to the agenda so it will be showing in my window.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, Chris.
You know what? I missed something. This isn't going to look good. On the stream, you're only going to have one active individual, and then you'll have the whole agenda if I stream the agenda. So we may need to have someone open up another
Okay.
computer and
Oh, yeah.
stream the
I
agenda.
don't guess you need. Okay. All right. How do I get rid of the? Okay, on half my screen, I've got a list of participants. How do I clear that? So I see full screen.
And my WebEx just
Oh, there
crashed.
we go. No. Okay, I can. What crashed? Oh, I see. Oh, that brought that back up. Get it? Oh, okay, good. All right. I'll disconnect it. Okay. Get it? Oh, okay, good. All right. I'll disconnect it. Okay. I'll turn my phone off just so it don't get on.
Well, okay, bye.
Okay. I'll turn my phone off just so it don't get on.
Well, okay, bye.
You're listening to the stream. Okay. I'll turn my phone off. Everybody needs to mute their sound unless they're talking, otherwise it gets crazy. That's Chris, that's the stream. Chris is on the stream. There's Sarah.
Okay. I can't hear what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just noticed my audio is muted. Oh,
Okay, so I'm gonna mute mine now.
Okay. 32-inch screen, and you're about maybe 10 inches tall. Your face. You got a life-size face. Okay, we need I'll give those other guys a call, see if they're, oh, Sarah, are you there? I see you're logged in. Oh, yeah. There you are. Okay. Got another text. Oh, where are you? I don't have any. I don't hear any feedback. You hear feedback? You there, Sarah?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Chris says he's got feedback.
Mr. Asbill, I think you've got YouTube up on the other monitor and the
I
audio
don't hear any
going.
feedback. You hear feedback? No, I don't.
You don't?
There, Sarah?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I don't have. No, I don't have YouTube up on any of the four monitors.
Never mind, I figured it out. It's problem exists between keyboard and chair over here.
Okay. Okay, so we got three people missing Charlie. Let me give him a call real quick. Good thing it's a short meeting. Relatively short. I see Sarah there. Make a noise, Sarah.
Yeah, short meeting. I guarantee you will be out by 9.
Please.
7 o'clock probably.
No, we get started by then. Let's try James here. He's having difficulty. Hey, James. Are you getting logged in? Oh, okay. All right. It's not there yet. No problem, man. Just eye contact if you're still on the road. In a minute. Oh. Okay. All right. We'll see you. Come on in. Sorry. Second in. Oh, that used to wear your finger down. Oh, Charlie, are you going to get into the school board meeting? Oh, okay. Yes, correct. Okay. Which part didn't work? You got in and it told you you have two choices. You use your browser or you can download the driver. Oh, okay. Maybe the email system was funky. Kelsey had the same problem. Okay, we'll be watching for you. In a minute.
Is Charles gonna be here?
Yeah, he said that he's working on it right now. I guess we're streaming right now.
We are both streaming and recording currently.
Okay. There he is.
Hello.
He didn't take. Oh, there he is. You got it. Oh, it takes a minute for it to kick in, doesn't it? Okay, we see you, Charlie. Got one more guy. Waiting for James. You know what? We ought to have meetings in the middle of the day because we're probably really overloading the internet. We're not, but the internet is probably really busy right now.
Yeah.
I guess we can go ahead and start. Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's everybody.
Yes.
All right. So let's start the meeting. Press we. Oh, you can't put the agenda up. Yeah. Find out.
No, if we post the agenda, it'll take over the whole screen for everyone viewing.
Okay, if I share content, is that present?
Yes, that will take over the viewing area for everyone.
So that means I could put up the agenda. Oh, but now if somebody else talks, so it'll take over. Right? Lose you? Well, let's start the meeting. So let's call the meeting to order. I understand we're recording. That's James.
Hello.
Good afternoon. So this is a meeting of the Daggett Board of Education. We're meeting online due to the coronavirus. And it's around 6 o'clock, 9 minutes after 6, it looks like. On April 16th, Thursday, 2020. And try a roll call. Present, myself, Pat Asbill. Your face,
James Olson.
Bruce Northcott.
Sarah Wilson.
Kelsey Lell.
Oh, there we go. And Lola Renshaw, you there? Lola Renshaw's logged in, so we'll see if she's there. She can't figure out how to turn her audio on.
Chris Nielsen.
Oh, Chris Nielsen. Sorry about that. Okay. Superintendent, did we need any of the principals or are they going to attend?
They were invited.
Okay, it occurred to me, Chris, do they know how to log in?
As I understand it, they're currently viewing it on the YouTube stream.
Oh, okay. I guess if they want to participate.
I can pass along any messages as they show up.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we need 100% later on down in the agenda, right? No, I guess not.
Do we know for
Try
sure
without-
if anybody's on YouTube? Are we able to monitor that, or is we just assume that somebody might be there?
I'm currently showing 3. That's including myself, and that we also have so 2 other individuals, and I know who one of them is, but we won't know everybody who's on.
Okay. All right. Well then, first, mouse. First item on, I got my agenda over here. Let me just bring it up here. Well, first let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. First item, Pledge of Allegiance. Can you bring up the flag there, Chris? Okay, there it is. Okay, then. I pledge allegiance
To
To the flag, to the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
divisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all. Not interesting.
Interesting.
Good point. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Need to rehearse that.
What did you say, Charlie?
Nothing.
Oh,
Backwards, there's a hidden message, I'm sure.
that's good. Well, this is interesting. Anyway. How do we show all participants, Chris? Only 4. I see a list of them, but I don't see their pictures. Well, that's 2. Hang on.
Top right-hand corner of your view, there's a box with 4 a square in it, and you highlight that and choose the type of pane you'd like to see. There's one option that'll show everyone there.
Oh, okay. Hey, Chris, can you check Sue's microphone? Is she blocked? Oh, okay.
The microphone was showing as blocked, yes.
Oh, okay. Try it now. You may be there. I think I heard it. Yeah. Work, Sue? Oops, I think I lost Sue. Anyway, she says she's there. Can't talk. We won't let her talk. Okay. Oh, we have an executive session. I'll hold that to near the end. You think it's going to be very long?
It won't be long. There's 2 issues. Maybe, doesn't necessarily, neither of them have to be included till the end. That's be fine.
Oh, okay. We can just. All right. Okay. In that case, let's move on down. Consent calendar. We have the minutes of 3 meetings, March 10th. No, 2 meetings. Special meeting on March 10th and the regular meeting on March 10th. Any additions or corrections?
No,
Well, then we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Well, wait a minute. One list. That'll work.
I'll second it.
Okay. So Chelsea moved and Charles to approve the minutes of the last two meetings. And the warrant list, any questions there? And until we'll get Sue to answer.
No.
Okay, then we'll entertain a motion to approve the warrant list.
I move to approve the warrant list.
I'll second.
Okay, a second. Yeah, it's hard to tell without Sue, whether she got that or not. Recorded. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Yeah. I don't have top two items. I mentioned that. Didn't include the minutes of the last meeting. Both of them, the consent calendar. So assume we've approved the consent calendar. Gee whiz. Okay, previous business. The data governance policy. Anybody have a question or comment about that? I have one. It's the usual one. Oh, okay. Bruce has brought it up. The only thing I see there that needs some attention is, again, parent or guardian. There are 6 guardians in there. So other than that, I didn't see any real major, anything that required major attention. Anyone else?
no.
In that case, this would be second. This is final reading, isn't it?
Yes, final reading.
Final reading. Yeah. I have to
This will
look.
be a second and final.
Okay. Second and final reading. We have a motion to approve.
I move C 2018 on the second and final reading.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved and second to approve on the second and final reading. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay. 3.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, again, the only thing I saw that may need attention would be just the word guardian, parent or guardian, just leave it as parent.
And I'll edit those. I'll look for those. All of my attention was on the 3
Yeah.
bullet points that we were correcting. I didn't read the whole document, but I'll go and find those and before I publish and remove those.
Good show. All right, that's the only thing we need to do there. Okay, no, I don't think that's a problem. All right, next item was the oh yeah, the tuition agreement. Everybody understands the. Well, we got some new people. Every year, we have to sign a tuition agreement with Sweetwater County. Do we do UNA anymore, Superintendent?
No, we don't have any more students from Uinta.
We had anymore. So anyway, so they tell us they're gonna pay us for tuition there, and we have to negotiate that. And the superintendent has come up with about $15,000 in agreement with the superintendent of their school district per student. But since that's less than it actually costs us per student, we need to approve it so we can sign it. Unless you disagree with that. Any questions or comments?
Is that the same as last year?
It's a slight increase.
I was gonna say, I thought it was a little more. It's almost 15,000.
I move to approve the Sweetwater School District agreement.
The second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So approve the Sweetwater agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And that what we need is, I'll have to work that out, Chris. A way to vote where we can see the votes come up. I guess we could do it in the chat.
Do a thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up. There you go. In chat. That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Next time. Hoping we could always hope there's not a next time. Remember, I got a feeling it's going to be. We're going to have a few more. Okay, let's see. Oh, hang on. Okay. Oh, and we're down to reports and informational items. Mr. Card, what's been happening to you? You bet.
Currently, they're closed to the public. They're still doing some online through Canvas. And virtual graduation for anyone that wants to see that or participate will be on May 6th at 6 p.m. Do you want me to send out an invite that I got on that to everyone?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, I'll pass along the email.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
I
All right.
need to talk a lot about that, but
No,
that's
that's fine. We're good.
okay.
So, but that's nice. They're doing a virtual. So, superintendent activity report. Anything to add, superintendent, or anybody have questions about it? Have any questions?
The only thing I'd add, I had to publish this before I actually held the meeting. Didn't know I was actually going to hold it until yesterday. But so the meeting that I had with all employees, sent a notice to you as board members to join in on a WebEx. As I presented information, I'll present in brief. I will present that again tonight. That's the only thing I would add to my activity report.
All right. Anyone else? Okay.
I want to know about graduation. I've had a few people ask about graduation.
Okay, so the direction that we are getting, this will actually come up. If you want me to address it now, I will, but it'll come up later in our agenda under school closure review. Do you want me to do that now?
Okay. Nope, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, I'll do it later.
Okay, then, well, then go ahead with the budget.
So I sent you out some documents. I don't want to show those because some of them have names on them. As soon as I get to documents that don't have names, then I'll show them. As far as the enrollment goes, it looks like as a district that we're pretty flat in terms of not much of a change from last year, with one exception, that Flaming Gorge Elementary is continuing to decline. Our worst case scenario for Flaming Gorge next year is 14. And I've had questions about, well, how, will we still have 2 teachers? So right now I'm still proposing that we have 2 teachers. This will cross over into the staffing plan, but people have been asking me that, and historically we'd have to go back almost 20 years ago when Flaming Gorge Elementary, we ran it with 1 teacher and 9 students. We had no 4th graders that year. We had 1 or 2 5th graders. Of course, by then we were busing 6th graders. We bused the 5th graders with the 6th graders, had no 4th graders, ran a K3 with 9 students. We did have to transfer a teacher that year. Julie Rogers came over and taught in Manila Elementary in the 2nd grade. At this point in time, I'm not projecting that we'll ever get that small again. And as I look at the future, I see some modest growth from the worst case scenario of 14. There are 5 PK students. And so that, as they move into the regular school system, we have a modest growth. Now, I don't know who else is moving in it. I don't know who else is moving out, but with the information that I have, that's the projection I'm making. But overall, as a district, we're flat, which is good, which means that we're going to get a consistent flow of revenue. If I talk about projected revenue at the next bullet point on your notes, there's a lot of confusion now. You're probably aware that the legislature in March gave education a nice budget increase, including 6% on the WPU. Growth is now in the base budget, and a cost of living inflationary amount is also in the base budget. You'll also be aware that that there's a special session going on. They've called themselves back to order. They'll be meeting, they met today, for sure meeting again tomorrow. And one of the issues in the special session is to review the budget. I've read the resolution that was presented, is continuing to be presented. In terms of it has to go to both houses. It went through the House today, and I don't know what happened with the Senate, maybe the Senate tomorrow. And they're telling us that we should be cautious in our expenses for the rest of the year. This is statewide entities that for education, we can count on the base budget, which means we are getting what we got last year, plus growth and a small inflationary amount. But the 6% WPU increase will probably not be funded at this time. It could be funded later. I actually doubt it. And I think that the COVID-19 will affect budgeting this year and next year. Just the way things play out, there's delays in they're telling us that we had this great flow of money. That money is already in the bank, but we're already starting to talk about what's going to be the shortfall next year, and how can we dampen that by not giving all of the raises this year. And I mean, the raises I'm talking about is the increase in the WPU, because we can't afford to do that. Not that we can't afford to do it now, it's because we can't afford to do it next year. And rather than taking $1 billion cut next year, let's not give the increase in the WPU this year, and hopefully we get through it next year. So I anticipated all of that. Sue and I have been working on a budget for over a month, and basically I gave instructions to Sue to create a budget based on last year's revenue, and then I gave her some staffing things that I wanted to accomplish. One of the things about our revenue stream is that if you'll remember, the last 2 years in a row, and I'm predicting this year also, that we are going to come in below budget. And so as I move to my next point, talking about staffing, I'm predicting that, and I'm going to show you some numbers in a minute, that the budget that we had, that we're operating under this year, even if we were having full employment, well, we do have full employment, but we don't have to pay coaches right now, and we're not paying for fuel, for buses, and those kinds of things. We have everybody else employed, so that didn't go away, but we do have some operational costs that we're not incurring that we had budgeted to incur. But even with all of that, I would be predicting that we would have a revenue savings. And so I'm saying to you, and Sue needs to weigh in on this also, but I'm reflecting information that she's given to me, that that we're pretty confident in what we can afford, and in terms of what I'm going to tell you in terms of the staffing plan, we've included in the budget numbers that I'm going to show you all of the new staffing that I'll tell you, with some cost of living inflationary numbers, except for the cost of any increases in the medical plan. And when I show you the numbers, you'll see that that's a separate number, and that would ultimately be an additional amount to what we're talking about. So the staffing plan, point 3 on your budget discussion, includes Manila Elementary replacing the 3rd grade teacher. That's a no-brainer. But adding to that a 1st grade teacher. Now, I do have some concerns about that, because right now you could see in the enrollment projection that our 3-year-old enrollment is only 2 students. Now, it might be too early to be confident about the number of 3-year-olds we're going to have. But right now, there's only 2 on the radar. And I'm talking about Manila Elementary. I'm confident in Flaming Gorge Elementary. They have 0 3-year-olds. We have 5 4-year-olds. So I'm just a little bit worried about breaking out the 1st and 2nd grade in terms of, if ultimately 2 students show up, then I'm not sure that that's a good thing and a good plan. But I'm responding to a request from the Manila Elementary, from the parents, from the community council, that this is an idea that we can entertain. And so I do have it in the budget. I do have it in the staffing plan. You know, people ask me what I think philosophically. Well, obviously it's the best way to do it. We've done for years the best thing that we could do, that we could afford. And so, you know, years ago, we didn't have aides, classroom instructional aides in the classrooms. Well, at one point in time, every double grade classroom had an instructional aide. It's hard to justify instructional aides when you only have 5, 8, even 13 kids in the class. So if you authorize, if you're in favor of splitting out the grades, the aides are losing their jobs, and we're taking care of that through attrition. But if we break out the 1st and 2nd grade, then next year there will only be 1 instructional aide left in the 4-5 classroom. Other things that are in the plan: Manila High School, a part-time computer science teacher, and a part-time music teacher. Looking at the broader district, I would like to hire an instructional coach. And the reason for that is we're going to have, if we do everything I'm proposing, we'll have 10 teachers who have less than 2 years of experience, and 8 of them are APT teachers, which means they didn't go to teacher college. They have a degree, they're smart, great people, but they don't have the pedagogical background, they don't have the content background. And so it's going to take an awful lot more work on their part and on our part in order to help them to be successful. Obviously, if we're going to hire them, we want them to be successful. We want them personally, professionally to be successful. We want them to be successful because they will have direct impact on the success of our children. With that many people in that position, in terms of their professional development, I think that we need to have an instructional coach who would help them. For years I've done it and done as much as I could do, helping 2 or 3 people. If we have 8 or 10 of them, that's really beyond the scope of what I could do on my own. So I'm proposing that. I'm also proposing a district secretary. We used to have one. We didn't refill that position for several years, basically because we didn't have the budget to do it. We're in a better position where I think that we can afford that position again. So that is in the staffing plan. I'll also alert you to the fact that there could be other changes in terms of principals, people who have directorships, coaches, classified employees. All of those positions are 1-year contracts. They're at will. And so there may be some shuffling of the deck in order to make all of that work. So, for example, if we agree to do the first grade, to hire a first grade teacher, then the instructional aide who was in that classroom potentially loses the job. Well, we'll try to take care of that person by an in-house shuffle. There, we'll try to do all this so that nobody gets hurt. Sometimes that's what's the right wording? It requires some flexibility and some creativity to make it all work sometimes. But that's the kind of plan that we're talking about. I go to point 4, and I'm going to put up some numbers in a minute. So just give me a minute. In the plan that I'm going to bring up in just a second, we do have some inflation in there, and I'll give you some numbers on what does it cost to do the new staffing plan, and then additional costs in terms of giving a 1% raise, honoring steps and lanes, those kinds of things. I think we can do that. That's what we're going to present to you. Obviously, if we were going to have a 6% increase in the WPU, we would be doing something much more aggressive, much better. But because the legislature has said to us, don't do that, don't count on anything, then I'm not going to propose that. And if the legislature changed their position in August or whatever, then we could do a retroactive raise or a bonus for this year that would become a raise, a full, on the schedule raise in the following year. I want those kinds of flexibility things to be open to us. My personal opinion is that the COVID is going to affect 2 budget cycles. And I would be delighted, shocked, but delighted if they gave us back the 6%. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. So giving the employees a 1% raise, sort of token, but I think we can do it. Having said that, then I'm going to just put up here, let's see, I got to find my document. So I'm sharing with you then, these are numbers that Sue gave to me. Sue, please chime in if you like. So what you're seeing then, 2018-19 prior year. So that was our budget. And remember that we didn't spend all of our budget. And so I'm suggesting to you that there's some room for us to do what I'm suggesting. You go to the second line, the 1920 no increase line. What that means is the staffing changes that I just told you, with no cost of living, no steps and lanes, no increase on base. What would it cost us to do that? Remembering that we've had senior teachers who are more expensive, they've retired, they've resigned. We've tightened our belt on a few things. The staffing that I just told you would only cost us $74,000 more. And then giving steps and length more than the 18-19 budget. Then if you give steps and lanes, you can see that that's another 15,000. 1% raise for teachers would be 21 more thousand, and classified a 1% raise would be another 6,000.
This document is,
Are we supposed to be able to see that?
Yes.
I'm not seeing anything.
yeah, I was going to bring it up, but I don't see it here.
I shared it across the system. It should be showing up.
Oh, hey, Chris. Technical difficulty here.
I
just
saw the
shared.
other one. The first time you shared something, I could see that, but not this
Sign
one.
up. And I was just looking, I don't have that document.
No, you don't have the document because we just created it. We just.
That's a good reason.
Let me take this down and share it and see if. What has happened here? Now I've lost the document. Just a minute. I think I made a mistake and I X'd out the document. Just a minute.
I'm having trouble with the document.
Okay, did that show up now?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, you want me to go through that again then?
Make it bigger.
Okay, so you're looking at 18-19 prior year. So that was last year's budget. The 19-20 no increase, what that means is all of the staffing that I've just told you about, older teachers retiring, they're more expensive, they're being replaced with younger teachers, the additional changes that I told you, some tightening of our belt, all of that will cost us 74,000 more. And then if we give steps and lanes for teachers, it would cost us 15,000 more. 1% for teachers would cost 21,000 more, and 1% for classified would cost us another 6,000. So the staffing plan that I've just showed you would cost us $118,000 more than what we had in 18-19. And the reason why I'm saying that I think we can afford that is because we have not spent in the last several years all of our budget. So I think there's room inside of that as we move forward to be able to afford this. Then at the bottom, where it says 5% increase or 7% increase, that's what it'll cost us for the medical benefits, which are not currently in the calculation. If we had a 5% increase in our medical premiums, then it would cost us 32, almost 33,000. 7% would cost us 45,000. Those numbers, either of those numbers or some number in that range, would then be added to the 118,000. Let's call it $150,000. Now, I want to say that the report that I have on the medical pool that we're in, that the pool has done very well this year. We're actually the 5% and the 7% in some ways is looking at some scary worst case scenario stuff. I don't think it's actually going to cost us that. The insurance meeting will be held on April 22nd, so we'll have some numbers about that, some real numbers. It'll clarify that issue. Questions?
I like the idea of a instructional coach. I also like the idea of a math coach for the elementary. I know we have to come up with money.
Well, let me tell you, and I was going to talk about this in a later part of the meeting, but you raise it. There's a new legislation is going to is changing what we used to call early reading, early literacy, is now being expanded to not just include reading, but it now has to include math. Some of the intent, we're going to have to really look at this. Some of the intent is that we would have a math coach like we have a reading coach in the elementary. I don't think we have to have that in place. I'm supposed to have some training on that on June the 10th. There's no way that if I'm getting the first round of training on June the 10th that we could fully implement in August. It's probably the training in June for implementation another year out. But we're supposed to be looking at that. There's actually supposed to be some money that might go towards that. And so early literacy is expanding to include numeracy as we move forward.
Anyone else?
I'm glad we're hiring an executive admin because I think Sue does a lot. I think she needs a
That's a
little
good
help.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing a lot. We need some additional help. It's probably not the best use of my time to be editing 171 policies also.
Where are we? Budget?
Sue says thanks for that little shout out there.
Still hasn't made it online.
Yeah, she's texting me. I'm getting multiple texts as we roll here.
Oh,
Other questions?
I'm not sure what to think about the hiring a first grade teacher because if we do end up with just having a couple students some year, what would we do? I mean, I would hate to have to fire a teacher or let one go, because we don't need them.
It's an issue. I don't have a good pulse on why we only have 2 3-year-olds on our radar, but that's the report I got from Amy just the other day. So, that is an issue. One of the things that might work out, and is that other senior staff might be retiring.
Yeah.
And then you make an in-house shuffle with that.
Yeah, that's true.
But then you'd basically be going back to where we are now, which, I mean,
But that would be okay if we only had 2 or 3 kids in a class.
yeah. I mean,
we have to shuffle each year, I think.
the business part of running a school district, we have to pay attention to that. We'd like to give everybody a condo and a Cadillac, but we do have to live within our means on all of these things. And so there's some druthers, there's some things we'd really like to do that we might not be able to afford to do, or just defies logic about what, how you would do that. So I've proposed that, and Sarah, you're recognizing very well that there, and I've already stated to you my hesitance as we look forward using the enrollment projection. What does that look like in 2 years, 3 years?
All right. So then, like summer projects you got on, or projects.
Yeah, let me.
Does that go along with the maintenance plan?
Yes. Let me share with you a new document.
Are you good, Chelsea? You there? I'm losing Chelsea off and on.
Can you see this document?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let me go to the biggest issue first, and see what's happened. So you'll remember that last year you gave me permission to build an addition on the front of Manila High School.
Mm-hmm.
Ran that, and we'd put a $250,000 price tag against that. I actually think that would not be enough money, the way building prices have gone up. I ran that SOIQ twice. did not get one single response. I've since gone and visited an architect, for example, walked in his front door and his business and talked to him. And so I had to do it that way. But in the meantime, we've met again as a staff. So I held a meeting with all of the players, Manila High School leadership, maintenance staff, other people involved. And as we talked about it, that desire to build the addition has sort of gone away, sort of waning. And we see an equally effective, different way to do this by replacing some of the front door systems. And we would do this on each building, 4 buildings. So Flaming Gorge, Manila Elementary, Manila High School, and the district office would all get mechanical buzzed-in door apparatus with intercom and video systems, so you can see who's at the door, you can talk to them. And all of the schools would get that instead of Manila High School getting an addition. That as we've looked at it, have felt that because what I did is I made a layout, I started to draw things up and having a conversation about the flow, how things work. The plan, we no longer see that as the best option. So we take $250,000 off the table, and we're still going to spend it, but we're going to spend it in different ways. So having said that, going ahead with the $80,000 installation of security cameras, it's going to cost us an additional $40,000 to do the security doors with the buzz-in system. So we're going to, and we have to do CO monitors. That's going to cost us another $35,000. We have a safety issue. We had somebody fall on the bleachers, one of our older citizens. One of the problems with our bleacher system in the gym is that we have no steps and no handrails. And there is one spot where we could put in a handrail, and we don't do it. But there are no steps. This is a huge violation of code. It might have been code back in '91 when the school was built, but it's no longer code. And so we feel pretty strongly that we need to fix that. The bleachers are in declining condition. We want to consider everything from a refurbish, a rebuild with what we've got, to the worst case scenario would be a tear out with a reinstallation of new stuff. And then as you look down that list, so all of the light green things are things that we're talking about. District office, I hire a new secretary, a district secretary, then we've got to have an office for that person. What I'm proposing is that the secretary be a receptionist, would move into Sue's current office. Sue would move into Luann's old office. Some of you don't know what or where Luann's old office is, but it's at the end of the hallway, currently being used as a team room. The athletic people have told us that they don't want the team rooms. We're wasting our space, so we're going to take it back. But that'll cost some money. Build out the hallway. Build in.
First one in, is that what you're saying? Take the first team room instead of the one all the way at the end of the hall.
I'm not hearing you clearly, Pat.
Oh, I was saying then we would take that first team room, the one on the left as you walk down the hall, or the one at the end?
The new secretary would have Sue's current office, and where Luann's office used to be at the far end of the hall would become Sue's new office.
Yeah, well, you said team room, and I think there's a team room right next door to the Sue's current office, isn't there?
Correct. And our long-term plan is to turn that into more office space and more conference space.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have a window either, so how can you put your business person in a window in a room that has no window?
Well, it'd be warmer.
No, no, the room at the end of the hall is the warmest place in the whole district.
That's where Sue needs to go.
That's
Okay.
where we're putting Sue in that hot box.
Okay, that's good.
She'll be comfortable. No one else can stand to go there, and that'll suit her just fine.
That's perfect. Okay. Go ahead.
The three big, huge trees behind the double gyms are dead. They have to be removed, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see, as I go up this list, I go back up to, we're putting new lights in the gym. We're paving. We'd like to pave the east parking lot. And part of our motivation there is that we have a safety issue in front of Manila Elementary School, and we would like to change the way we're parking and using that space. If we push the kids down to the east parking lot and allow more Manila Elementary parking in what we consider to be the high school parking lot, you took the south side of the parking lot and designated, a dozen stalls for parking and I'm saying temporary parking, drop-off parking for the elementary. We've had some close calls. Too many cars parked out in front of the elementary, kids running out between cars. I wouldn't say it was life-threatening close call, but it was unnerving a little bit. So we're trying to address that issue. We need the kids to move to the east parking lot. We might allow some of the kids, if they want to buy a spot or student of the month or something, could have a parking spot up by the school. And then we have some erosion problems with the road in front of the east parking lot that we need to solve with proper culverts and that kind of stuff. If I go up, Elementary,
Bruce,
yes,
I talked to that paving contractor today, but anyway, they're coming next Wednesday,
okay,
and just roughly figuring the quote that they gave us to repave in front of the maintenance shop just south of the courthouse. So it was a 35 by 53 foot patch or whatever,
uh-huh,
3 inches thick. It was a little over $11,000.
okay,
So
11,000,
3 inches thick.
yeah, okay. Are you gonna have that done right over top of what's there, or are you gonna dig out what's there? Do you have to fix the base in any way, or?
We're just gonna dig out the old pavement, and there's a pretty good base underneath it. So
Okay. I know that we'd probably have to do some improvement to our base in that parking lot. And, okay, that's really good information.
that quote is just bringing their paving machine in and putting 3 inches of pavement asphalt down.
Yeah, okay. Well, that gives me a ballpark of, I'll prorate that out for a space that at least 6 times bigger than that kind of a thing, maybe.
So what are the odds we could ever pave in front of the elementary school where the parents park? 'Cause sometimes it gets really muddy when it snows or anything. I've always wished that that was paved.
Oh, the pickup area.
It's not in the plan right now, but it could be. Certainly could be.
Maybe next year.
You know, let's, as we work on all these things and we figure out what's possible, you know, there's some logic in saying, hey, if we get them here, let's do everything we can.
Yeah, that's
There's-
true. Because
there's
just
some-
getting them here costs a lot.
Yeah. So I'm going to take that suggestion, Sarah, and I'll add it in there, and let's see what we can do. If we can, we'll do them both. If we can't, then it'll have to be
On your own.
or so.
Okay.
Let's see. There's a request at Manila Elementary. If you walk into the library, there's two small offices to the left with the big open space for the library. But then as you go further into the library, there's a nook in there, and they want to take that nook and create two more offices there. So there's a plan to do that. As we go over to Flaming Gorge Elementary, you can see some of the things that we're planning there. And we've already done 3 classrooms, and we're going to do 2 more, putting in a complete wall bank of cabinets above the back counter. Like I say, we've got 3 rooms done already. We'll do 2 more. So that's, see that that's already yellow, which means it's been done. At 20,000 that we're spending on cupboards, cabinets, bookshelves, Flaming Gorge Elementary. There was a desire for some xeriscaping. If you remember, Flaming Gorge Elementary has this absolutely huge, amazing front lawn, but water prices have gone up dramatically. And so there was a suggestion from the community council that we, you know, about half of that front lawn be xeriscaped. Take out the grass, put in some rock. Obviously, there would be some upfront costs. Probably can't do it for 10,000, but over time, the savings in water, that's part of what we're thinking there. And again, that was suggested by the community council. So it's in dark green right now, which means it's on a wish list, but that could easily be moved over. Well, easily. It could be moved over to the light green, which are the projects that we're actively seeking to accomplish this year. You can see that what we're proposing, I mean, it's just huge. I would actually like to hire a couple of part-time people to help us, so that we've got an opportunity now that the schools are closed. Like I say, we've already done 3 of the rooms at Flaming Gorge Elementary using the fact that the schools are closed. Well, we just got 6 more weeks of school closure before our normal maintenance season would start. And we're proposing an incredible number of projects. Many of them have to be or should be done by contractors to help us maximize. You know, we're not qualified to install CO detector systems. We're not qualified to install, you know, $80,000 security systems. We're not qualified to install security doors that have intercom and video and all that. So many of those things have to be done by contractors. But there are many of these projects that we intend to do on our own, and it's more than what 2 men can do. So I am proposing to hire 1 or 2 full-time temp, summer employed kind of people. Other questions or issues with the maintenance plan?
Did they finish the flagpole seat in Fleming Gorge Elementary already?
It is not finished, but it's still on the get her done list. No.
All right, before we go any farther, can you say something, Chelsea? I don't hear you. Chris, are you, excuse me? Is that you?
I can't hear her.
Oh, yeah, I don't either. I see her lips moving, but can't hear a thing. Oops. Yes.
I don't know what my volume is.
Yeah. And Chris, are you listening? Chris may still be working with you. Oh, is Kelsey got audio?
According to my thing here, yes, she does.
Kelsey, not Kelsey. Okay. So her audio is not blocked.
No.
Huh. You sure you got? Have you got to use the microphone or use the microphone on the laptop? Oh, sounds again.
I think next time we'll look into getting you some headsets.
About the elementary parking, if we can do go through where people aren't backing up.
Did you hear that, Superintendent?
Not clearly, no.
Oh, make it so people don't have to back up
Oh, yes.
Oh,
would be a great idea.
drive in linearly. I got you.
Yeah.
Like the buses. Come in like the buses do.
It would solve that if we didn't park on that side of the road and move everybody in the parking lot. So that the backing up is over in the parking lot instead of on the road.
Something needs to happen because it's so easy to miss kids when you're backing up.
Yes, we recognize that there's a problem. We got to solve this, and we got to solve it before somebody gets killed.
Yeah, because I about ran over late one time. So
Could a curb be put by the street, runs parallel to the road, and you have to pull in between the curb and school for drop off and pickup?
Oh, I see what you mean. You mean divide the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Let me write that down. Yeah.
Yeah, put a divider in.
Um,
So everyone would have to come from the same direction up by the district office and come down, drop them off, and then. But the buses are there.
not necessarily if you back the buses up, you could go through the high school parking lot and then go around.
Get that?
If the buses were backed up a little, so they weren't blocking the exit.
Because then you could, or push them down a little bit, but you could go through the high school parking lot.
Yeah, because I don't like where they stop right now anyway. They block the exit, so you can't get in or out of the parking lot while they're dropping kids off in the morning.
right now, we're doing that on purpose.
Oh,
Yeah, that
for that. Okay, so the kids.
No.
Yeah, that.
have to have a different flow plan, and so we're trying to look at it. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting though. If we made everybody park down below, then what Chelsea was saying is you could drive through you could use the high school parking lot for pickup.
Drive all the way through to the Mandela Elementary door, and if you were all going the same way, you could drop off one at a time.
Yeah, that's what I do sometimes. I go to the high school, drop off high school kids, and then go around to the elementary, drop them off, and then just head down the street.
Hey, Chris, are you still listening? Apparently not.
Sorry.
Oh, how does Chelsea call in on the phone?
I sent you a phone number. Let me text it to her.
Okay. What's your text, Chelsea? Okay. All right, I'll hang out then. When you log in, there we go.
And maybe if we're having this conversation, so I hear approval in principle, and, you know, I'd love to have a visit with Chelsea and have her draw a picture for me of, and Sarah, have you guys draw a picture for me of what you do and what you see and how you think the flow could work. How do you experience it as parents? What do we do with buses? I would be really interested in that conversation. Let me throw out another really wild solution. You take the east front lawn of the elementary and turn it into a drive-through.
Oh, there's well, and actually, you've got an exit over on the east side. Now,
I like that idea. So a lot of schools have that where you just have like a
go to the door.
yeah, just kind of like a loop where the parents have to drive, drop their kids off, and then go.
Yeah.
That's a thought.
That's another idea that we've come up with. You could take the whole front lawn, turn it into a drive-through and parking lot, or just put a drive-through on it. And you know, it's kind of a no stopping, but a lot of people don't want to stop, or they stop for, you know, 10 seconds to let their kid out and off they go. And a drive-through would facilitate that.
They could just slow down long enough to let them jump out.
Yeah.
Tuck and roll.
Jump and roll.
Put a bunch of pillows there. So we think we have a problem. We know we have a problem. We're concerned. We're trying to come up with a solution that addresses this. And so you can see that we got a bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
I'd hope to have some improvement by August.
All right. So, anybody else have anything? That was good input. Next would be the legislative review, as I see it. Got that one? Oh, you don't want to put the whole thing up.
No, I'm not going to put that up.
Just give us a brief synopsis.
Let me take this one down.
You there yet, Chelsea? No. Did you get the code?
She back in yet?
She got it.
I'll let you read all 159 of those bills on your own, but I want to highlight just maybe a dozen of them and just quickly give a run through. And I've chosen ones that have specific impact to us. Many of the legislation, many of those bills do not have impact for us, or not significant impact. I've already mentioned to you House Bill 114, which talks about the fact that we have to take our early literacy and expand it to numeracy. House Bill 58, e-cigarette. It's now legal for us to destroy confiscated e-cigarette materials. It's not against the law to have e-cigarettes unless it contains illegal substances, THC or whatever.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, here you're good.
Okay.
House Bill 171, it's illegal to make a threat, including a hoax. So I'm going to blow up the school, and then later they say, I was just kidding. Whether you know, it's still going to be a criminal act to, it kind of already is, but it's strengthened.
What if you're homeschooling and your kid calls in about mom? That doesn't work.
House Bill 222. This is called a Smart Breakfast Program, and it says that if you have a lunch program, you have to have a breakfast program. Well, we already, you know, Flaming Gorge doesn't have either. I'm sure somebody's going to be asking us why we don't. But But another of the issues is that starting next year, if a school has 70% free and reduced students, that you have to offer breakfast after the start of school. In other words, breakfast is being served. If school starts at 5 to 8, we're serving starting at 7:30. We're still going to do that, but we have to keep the kitchen open past the start of school. And over the next 3 years, it then lowers to 50% free and reduced down to 30% free and reduced in year 3, where you have to offer breakfast later than the start of school. That will eventually affect us.
Why are they doing that?
This is all about big cities. This is all about inner city schools. This is all about high areas of poverty.
Yeah. So is it because some kids are late to school and they miss breakfast?
Yes.
Oh,
Either they're late to
They
school
just don't
because
get
the public transit or whatever isn't all that great, or because they have a planned late arrival and they get there, they didn't get fed at home, they arrive, and they should still be able to have one of the 2 meals they're going to get in a day from the school.
mm.
That's the logic. It doesn't. We've had some conversations already about the usefulness of that for us, but not for those reasons. It's more about kids who can't get up in the morning. But
Maybe the parents should help them get up.
yeah,
I think that's the problem.
it is an issue, and so I'm not going to. We're not going to figure out the blame. I'm going to figure out a solution that works. Anyways, so that's coming. Sue just sent me a text and said we're right now, and Sue, as a district, do you mean 27% as a district right now? Because it would be measured by school.
Oh,
So, like, I don't know what the schools are. Anyways, moving on. So we'll look at that. House Bill 334. Right now, you may be aware that a civics test is required in the government class, and a kid has to pass the civics test as part of the graduation requirements. The new law says that a kid doesn't necessarily have to take the test, but they could prove competency through some sort of a portfolio or project or whatever. I could talk about a lot of things. I'm just going to pick out some highlights. House Bill 22 makes some changes to the Utah retirement systems. That's going to make it easier for retired people to return to the education system. And that is an issue, even for us. House Bill 336, they're expanding concurrent enrollment, and they're actually going to create a certificate program that recognizes a kid who they'll get a launch certificate if they took 6 credit hours of concurrent enrollment. There's a discover certificate if they took 15 credits, 15 classes, I mean, and no, I'm sorry, 15 credit hours. The different subjects, it's specified. There has to be one from arts, one from humanities, one from life science, one from physical science, and one from social behavior. And then there's a third certificate called a transform certificate. And we're talking about significantly higher. It's not quite an associate degree, but it's significantly higher. And the first 2 are given by the USBE, and the last one's given by the Board of Regents. So that's gonna, it won't give us any money or anything, but it'll It'll give kids some recognition. House Bill 434. If you're a Nest school, which we are, then there's going to be $100,000 reimbursement available for travel, in addition to what we're already getting.
Wow.
And so that's a big piece for us. Now, I'm not sure if we'll be eligible for all of the 100,000. I'm not sure if they just give it to you, or we're eligible for up to 100,000. And then there's some things. It's gonna have to do with our after school bus route. It'll have to do with our transportation to events. There is, for us, sports, we're crazy about sports. This is actually going to have some sort of focus on the arts. If it's only the arts, it's not going to help us very much. But anyways, there's that new possibility. House Bill 376. You're probably not aware that I have to write a report every year based on if we have any dropouts, because we have to have a third-party vendor who provides dropout recovery. And I've argued with them over this for years, that it just doesn't make sense in Daggett County for us to buy a third-party vendor who's going to do all these things for these kids. We already know the kid by name. We already know what program they're in terms of after high school. We already know that they fixed it. They graduated somewhere else, something. Again, this is a big city, inner city problem where kids disappear, and we might have a kid that doesn't graduate on time, but we know what happened to them, and we got them graduated a year late. Doesn't count for us. There's some really frustrating rules for all that. Anyways, they are going to exempt us from the third-party vendor requirement.
Oh, good.
I guess I complained enough, and it actually made sense to somebody. Not just us, it's schools. Again, it'll be Nest schools or schools in a 4th, 5th, or 6th class county, which would be rural, small. House Bill 143, we used to have every one of our buses inspected. Now they have the opportunity to just do 20%. They're changing the rules on bus inspections. And you already know, you've seen me present to Chad and give him acknowledgement for the great job that he's doing in keeping our buses in great repair. So it's not that we're going to drop our standards at all. It's just making it easier for the state. Instead of them inspecting every bus every year in the whole state of Utah, they're now saying we're only going to do 1/5 of them per year. They're lightening the load for themselves because it's untenable. And the last one that I'll talk about, if you didn't think fees was already complicated enough, they passed a law that makes it more complicated, and we have to do additional reporting. So that's discouraging. We actually opposed that as superintendents, and it got through on a last-minute deal. So we're disappointed about that. But anyways, if that's the least of the bad things that could happen to us, then I guess I can live with that. Questions?
If not,
Have any?
No?
okay. Okay. Regional USDA review.
I didn't attend the meeting, so any one of you that attended,
I did, and I don't remember seeing anybody else there. It was the same kind of meeting, same as now. And yeah, I didn't get a lot out of it. There was a a little confusing. Took me a while to get logged in. Maybe that's why. Just like tonight, it was mostly what the superintendent just went over. Just the legislature.
Yeah, I think I wasn't aware completely of the agenda, but I know that they intended on doing some legislative review. So I think we got most of that through what I did.
He did a legislative review, and then he said, "Anybody got anything to say?" And it was quiet. That was about the end of it. Took me 10 minutes to get logged in. And he did the legislative review, and then that he didn't take a lot of time on it. He covered the highlights just like you did, and then asked if anybody had questions, and nobody did. For the most part, there were a couple. That was what happened. So, school closure review. Now that's going to be interesting.
Let me bring up the next document. Share this with you. Let's see, did I lose it? Okay, can you see that?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, just a minute.
Did you still have kids in high school?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Did it till
yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, that was my question. How's everybody doing? Of the other 4 board members that have kids in the school, how are your kids doing?
Mine are doing good.
fine.
Oh, there we go. I think you got it.
There it is.
Mine are struggling,
Oh, are they? Okay.
or I should say I'm struggling.
Well, if the teachers are there, you can call them up and get help.
Yeah, it's not the teachers. It's not really anything the teachers need to do different. It's just getting my kids,
Get them to work.
keeping them motivated, keeping them on task, staying focused, not bothering each other, interrupting each other. And I need 3 of me.
I understand. Go ahead.
Okay, so you can see that this is a document that I received, that all the superintendents across the state received from State Superintendent Sid Dixon. So the 3 phases then, the new now, and we're not calling it the new normal because this isn't normal and it's not going to be forever. It's just what's happening now. So the new now, and then the near future, it says summer bridge. Whenever we transition, I guess it's going to be summer. There'll be some things going on, and then future, if you want to put a timeline on it, we're assuming that we're coming back to school full time in August. So just quickly, each of these phases then have characteristics. And so the essential 5 for phase 1, we're still trying to teach kids. We have not closed school. And Sarah, I recognize that, you know, you've got a house full of little kids, and it's hard. This is killing many of our parents. Very difficult. Everybody's trying to do their best, but we're trying to make it so that learning continues. That learning, we're not pushing out what we would do if kids were in school. We're pushing out half of what we would do. We're trying to identify the essential things that need to be done and focusing on those things, trying to make this doable. Paying specific attention to our graduating seniors, making sure that they get credits. There's some real issues we've got some of our very best students who are saying, I'm done. I can't stand this. I got senioritis anyways. I'm going to take straight D's in the fourth quarter. I don't care if my GPA, I blow my GPA, you know. And so we're supposed to, I mean, we're not going to reward nothing, but we're trying to be very engaging, very accommodating, very flexible. Not that we have lower standards for quality, we're just demanding less. And trying to make this doable, trying not to hurt anybody, trying to make sure all of our seniors graduate and none of them hurt in that process. Younger kids will have much more time to recover from any negative impact here. The third issue, it's not an issue here, although we offered food to everyone. We sent out a message and no one took us up on that. We're trying to be sensitive and listen if there are needs, and we'll respond to those. But in other places in the poverty inner city, for example, taking food to kids, providing them with sack lunches. They only ate when they were at school. Now they're not at school, so now they're not eating, and so there's an issue that we've got to feed them. Again, that's not an issue in Daggett County, but in other places. The fourth issue there is to keep everyone gainfully employed. So no one has been turned away. Of course, the teachers have tons to do, and some of them are telling me that they're actually working longer hours doing the digital piece than they were by just doing it in school face-to-face. Our bus drivers, we're employing them. The kitchen staff, the aides, the instructional aides, the custodians, everybody still has a job. They still have their same hours, and we're doing some creative things to get lots of things done that might not otherwise get done, with the attempt then to keep everyone employed. We have had a few people say, you know, one person was in quarantine for 14 days, those kinds of things. A couple of people have said they don't want to come to work. If they want to come to work, they can come to work. And then trying to support staff and students' mental health, social, emotional needs. This is a real challenge. And there are some kids, we do have some students, both in elementary school and in high school, who have just shut down. They're not doing a thing. They're dropouts. There's some challenges there, but there's lots of really good things going on in terms of the contact, face meetings, chats, texting, emailing. There's lots of great things happening to try to support the kids. So I would say that we have a better report than we have a more positive report than a negative report, but there are some negative issues out there, and we're trying to be sensitive. And I think as we move forward, again, we've only heard about the extension for 2 days now. As we move forward, we'll probably start making some home visits. And that will be challenging also because you still have to do social distancing, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's phase one. That's where we're at right now, and we're going to finish the school year. So we're at May 22nd, and then we're done. Chelsea, your question. Are we going to hold a graduation? Well, no, there won't be a graduation at Manila High School. There's lots of brainstorming going on. I have a list of suggestions and ideas that have been talked about, that have been sent to me by Camille. Some of the suggestions that they've got, quite frankly, aren't going to work. Well, maybe they'll work, but I'm not sure. For example, I'm not sure that we can have, okay, we're not having graduation on May 22nd at the high school, but we're going to have it at the rodeo ground. I'm not sure that that's going to work. But it's a brainstormed idea, and we'll see how that goes. Something virtual, something, we'll see. But there will be no graduation on May 22nd. And we'll see as we get further into this whether, you know, I think you're hearing lots of other places that are saying, well, yeah, we're going to have a graduation. It's going to be on August 19th. I'm not sure how many of our kids would be interested in an August 19th graduation, live graduation. It's a possibility, virtual, some things. The idea maybe of a parade, the idea of banners down Main Street. You know, we got some ideas.
What if we talk to the parents of the kids that are graduating and see what they would like to do? I mean,
Yeah.
because I've had some people say, well, why can't we have it in June or July? So there's some people that really want some kind of graduation.
Yes. I think we'll survey. So we've got some ideas from the faculty. I think we'll do a survey of students and parents and their ideas. That's a great suggestion.
I mean, ultimately, it's about them anyways, the ones that are graduating. So
Right.
I think that's who we need to ask.
Okay. Great suggestion. Other suggestions at this point? I won't belabor all of this. If we go to phase 2, the summer, we got to figure out which kids didn't do well. We've got some kids that are doing just fine, absolutely fine. There's some kids that aren't doing very well. There's some kids that this is an absolute disaster for. We're going to figure all that out, and based on who did what, we're going to continue to provide services through the summer. And the reality is, Bill just sent me a clarifying thing on the graduation. So we've got some ideas. It won't be on May 22nd in the gym. We're going to work on some ideas and get some input from the community, and we're going to create something. So we're going to extend services during the summer. We already do a lot of things in the summer. We have some great follow-up already through special ed, through the counseling services. It's probably going to have to be broader than what they've been doing, and that has been more high school. There's going to have to be some more summer school kinds of things at elementary. We're going to analyze all that and figure out what we're going to do, but there'll be something more than usual for the summer. This next graph, for example, just shows some concepts about summer slide. If you look at the red solid line, that's third grade, look at the bottom dotted line, a projection of summer slide starting on March the 13th. That means a kid almost lost a whole grade. So there may be some worst case scenarios here where a kid was behind anyways, then they did nothing during the soft closure, they do nothing during the summer, they might lose quite a bit of time. It's going to be a challenge. And so depending on how they respond to the rest of the soft closure, depending on how they respond to our invitations in the summer, I can imagine that there will be a few cases where we start in August, late August, and there's going to have to be some intense remediation because we've lost some ground. And that's one of the realities we're going to have to face. We're going to try to do everything we can to minimize that. We're just being told, you know, here's your worst case scenario. We better do something about it, folks. Anyways, I won't. And then I want to go to phase 3. Again, at the end of the summer, we'll have to analyze again and figure out, okay, where are we at? And what we have to do in August and September may have to be more intense remediation work than we even already do. If I go back to the summer, it says that we can do tutoring. We're anticipating that we're going to be able to do small group tutoring, individual tutoring. One of the things it doesn't say is, you know, you can bring masses of people back to school. Well, for us, it's not an issue. But part of that is that's signaling to us that come June 1st, it doesn't mean everybody, everything's back to normal. We're canceling summer jamboree. Supposed to be in June. Because what the Athletic Association is saying is they're aiming for a return to normal for July the 6th. That's when football starts. Again, it's a big school issue. But baseball for us starts just shortly around there, shortly after that. So we're going to try to aim for normal in July. There's an indication that we're going to go back to small groups. The building is open, small groups, lots of tutoring going on, but it's not swinging the doors wide open. We've already had superintendents say, oh, well, if we just extend the school year to June the 3rd, well, then we'll hold graduation for all 800 kids. And the answer is no. So, the information that Camille has sent to me that talks about an alternate way of doing this, I mean, they've got some great ideas, and we're gonna do some more things, some more thinking, and come up with a solution that honors the directives that we're getting, and honors, but then simultaneously honors as best as we can the wishes of parents and the wishes of the kids, and so that we can still do something meaningful for them.
I just sent Camille a link in case she wants to log in.
So that's kind of how we're moving forward. Are there any questions?
I'll throw something out there on graduation. I've talked to 3 different parents of graduates, and the students are saying they really don't care to have a graduation. That's not what the parents are saying, but that's what the students are saying.
Just give me the diploma. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
I can understand.
recognize that that's a reality. We've had, I was talking to one of the coaches, and the coach says, my question is, how are things going? Da 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 da. Well, the seniors have already left. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So again, I think if we poll the parents and the students and figure out what they're thinking about, and then try to meet the needs, and I guess there will be some kids that just won't show up, and I guess that's their choice for whatever we do.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, then we have next item. Good things happening. What really? Oh no, I guess we did. And we just covered that. Good things going on here. Would it be good to hear from some of the teachers to see what some of the great things they're doing there, but get them in here. That was probably my fault.
Well, I can give you some examples. You know, Don Slagowski held doing some classroom, some presentation, open chat, and the kids are just having a great time. Yes, she did some instruction, but probably the most important thing that happened was these kids all got to talk to each other. They all got to see each other, even if it was just a bob and head on the screen. But sort of validating this issue that the kids need to see each other, need to talk to each other. And
Yeah, I agree. All of my kids really enjoy it when their teachers say, okay, we're meeting at this time this day. They get excited and they get to see their classmates. And I had Evan, he told me, even the kids in his class that used to annoy him, he said he really misses them. So they definitely miss each other and realize now what they're missing out on.
Yes.
So I'm glad that they can meet together as a class virtually.
You know, one superintendent even suggested that we have a virtual recess.
I guess that's what we're doing on Monday, right?
Yes, Alan just sent me a message that says that virtual recess plan for Monday. That's a great idea, you know. We should be doing some virtual sing along, and that's sometimes hard in terms of you guys, what you experienced today with everybody's mic on saying something. The system goes wacko, but if you boost that out, we don't hear everybody responding, but you push something out and we all sing along with, you know, some Disney songs or whatever.
Like Baby Shark.
There you go. There's a whole bunch of ideas, whole bunch of things. So let me give you another example. Lisa Perry over at Flaming Gorge Elementary, teaching third through fifth graders. She has everything on Canvas. She already had that done before COVID started. She hasn't missed a beat. She meets with each of each of the grades. So she's meeting with 3 different grades. I think she's doing 2 or 3 subjects, 2 subjects for sure. She meets with them for half an hour. And then they do an assignment. She's not missing a beat. So that's a great thing. And other teachers that are doing some things with, you know, pushing out packets, we're still making some progress. It's less dynamic, I think. In the high school, talking to one of the teachers the other day, let's see, I was talking to Mike. He has more kids participating in his lecture than are turning in assignments. And part of it is that they want to connect. And then another part of it is that some of those kids, although they do want to connect, their lives are so unstructured at home that they're having significant problems with dealing with getting their lives organized so that they can actually do assignments, actually do the work. Even though we're only asking them to do half of the work, they still can't get half of the work done. Although they show up to all of the online stuff, check in, but they're not turning any work. So that's an interesting perspective. Basically, the report I'm getting is the kids who were actively engaged in their learning are doing well. And when I say actively engaged in school, when they were attending class, most of them are doing absolutely fine. The kids that really struggled going to class and getting assignments done, they're still struggling. I'm talking again from the high school perspective in this portion. And so there are a few issues. Thank goodness that none of the graduates are doing nothing. The underclassmen who are doing nothing, at least.
I got a report to share. My little grandson Wesley chimed in one day and seen his teacher there teaching all by herself, and he felt so bad for her because she was there all by herself teaching. And he actually broke down and started crying because he felt bad for her.
I know Alan pushed out a video of all of the teachers teaching to no one. It was quite cute, but a little bit sad. Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Camille, since you joined in there? Oh, you don't have audio. Oh,
Let me
there
give
it is.
one more example. What I'm getting is the kids who were
Oh, yeah.
actively engaged in their learning are doing well. And when I said actively engaged in school when they were attending class, most of them are doing absolutely fine. The kids that
Oh, we're here. Camille, we're hearing.
You're on a 30-second delay.
Yeah.
Class and
Turn
get
the
me
audio down just on your, we're hearing your streaming audio. You need to turn down whatever you're streaming before you talk.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're fine now. We're getting ready to.
Virtual staff meeting this morning, and we got pretty good connecting with more kids who had done nothing. We had a couple of meetings today with Google Meets, and a teacher was able to walk through and do several assignments who had done nothing. So our students are improving. Our teachers are very willing to help the students. We're grading pretty soft, just trying to get them involved. And our goal at the end is just to be able to give credits. And then we are concerned with some of our seniors that have done very little, that we do need to graduate, but we're working on that. So.
All right. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anything to add, Camille, since what? I think that's a rerun. Somebody had the streaming on. Okay, and we have, okay, so we have to postpone the budget for quite a while now, then, don't we?
Well, here's a problem. The superintendents, the schools board association, we're requesting for a delay in the budgeting process. But the tax commission is pushing back against us on that, saying, no, if you don't turn in your budget by June 22nd, then that upsets the truth in taxation process, which upsets the tax notice process. And they're pushing back saying, no, that's not going to happen. You're going to turn in your budgets on time. I don't have a resolution on that. But I bet you we lose that battle.
Okay. Interesting. All right, then. So we'll.
I'm going to suggest to us that unless we get some new information pretty soon, that we continue moving forward on a base budget, which is last year's revenue.
All right. And so then the next meeting will be May the 10th? Right?
May the 12th.
May 12th, okay. So we ought to have a budget, maybe start working on the budget then, I guess.
Yeah, we're required to have a preliminary budget ready with some details, so.
Yeah. All right. So then we had a request for an executive session to discuss a personnel issue. And personnel issue for the people that are watching. I don't know how many people we got on. We go to executive session. I wrote it down so I can say it. legislature stated it, for discussion of character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual. So, and we can have a private meeting to do that. So, and we've had a request for that. So I would entertain a motion. Oh, and we will go into executive session, and then we have to return to this meeting in order to take any action. I don't believe there's any further action that needs to be taken this meeting. So I'll return to this meeting once we finish the executive session to adjourn. And
May I just add that
anything further?
and make it clear that on the next meetings, part of the agenda, that obviously if graduation is canceled, so are all of the awards assemblies, so is the FFA banquet, so is the sports banquets. All of those things are canceled, just to clarify.
That would be on the next agenda. Yeah. All right. So we have a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go into executive session.
I'll second.
To discuss a personnel issue.
To discuss a personnel issue. Doesn't take long. So that requires a roll call vote. So let's see. I got faces. If I come up with names. Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Lael,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
and Mr. Card.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So then disconnect from this meeting and log into the other meeting. Okay, and we have to come right back. Sue. Back here. Okay. Don't see James. Charlie logging in.
What's that?
So I see you logging in, and I see Sue, and I don't see James yet. In any case, so we're waiting on next agenda. We'll be talking about the budget, maybe. We're definitely talking about what the legislature is going to do. Nothing else.
Probably talk about graduation again.
And graduation, we have to deal with that because that's May 12th will be our last chance to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unless we postpone it indefinitely. Okay. Anyone have anything else to add to the meeting?
No.
No? Okay. No one has.
Can I ask for one clarification?
Go for it.
So like as early as tomorrow, maybe as late as Monday, I could be posting as many as 10 jobs based on the staffing plan, based on, and some of it is ripple effect, right? Could be some domino things. Based on the budget that I presented, that Sue gave, my presentation of Sue's budget, okay with me going forward?
As far as I'm concerned, yes. Anyone have an objection?
And Sarah's point is well taken.
People.
But I'm still okay with going forward with hiring a first grade teacher. Because I realize we can shuffle things around in the future if we need to.
And they'll have to understand, when they hire the person. They have to shuffle things around. Superintendent takes care of that stuff.
Sarah, what was your thing?
Oh, I was just questioning if we hire a first grade teacher separate, in a couple of years, if we only have 2 or 3 kids in that class, what are we going to do with that teacher? I don't want to have to let anyone go, but now I understand we can just maybe shuffle them around. There may be other teachers that are going to retire in the next few years, so I think we'd be okay to go forward.
Now we kind of have to do that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, superintendent, we'll go ahead with that. And post all the job. And we'll see what happens there. If there is no further discussion or anyone else has anything to say, then I'm going to discuss.
Well, actually, I have one.
Okay, well, I don't declare them.
The third grade position was already posted. Have we hired that one out?
No, it only closed today.
Oh, okay.
And so we're in process. We knew that was going to happen because we had to replace Dawn. We've got 5 applicants, of which 4 of them meet the minimum criteria. So I'm anticipating that one of the applicants we would eliminate because they do not have the minimum requirements. And we have 4 others, so we'll go from there. The fact that if we open up a couple of other positions, for example, the high school position now would be opened up, a first grade teacher if I have an instructional coach, I've already had people talk to me and say, boy, the career of my life would be to be an instructional coach. There's going to be some people that might jump on that. There may be some domino effect that I'll end up having, you know, if I reassign somebody who's already a teacher, then I'm going to have another opening. There are some people out of district who are trying to get here, who would not be a good fit for a third grade or first grade teaching position. But instructional coach, that might fit. So I don't know how all that's going to roll out. And now that I might even hold up that third grade position, or another thing to do would be to say, well, we're going to interview 4 people and we're going to end up choosing 2 of them or 3 of them in terms of, you know, one of the candidates could also be a high school teacher. So maybe 3 of the 4 will get a job. And we'll see what happens with the rest. If we hire the, you know, one of our special ed aides resigned. But if we hire the first grade teacher, then one of our classroom aides is going to have to be reassigned. That person just lost their job because of that. So one of the positions I have might not get posted. It might just be filled within house as part of a reassignment. So there's quite a few moving pieces going on here as we figure all that out.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, try one more time. No, nothing more. Nobody objects, I'll be better to adjourn. You guys.
Bye, everyone.
Whenever that happens to be, that could be in 2 weeks. Who knows?
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.